Guy does not want his car stolen. That's the biggest lock I've ever seen. And we are going out into the rain. It's super rainy outside. It's just a steady drip. Pretty damn chilly. Considering yesterday it was almost 30 degrees. I think it's like 16 now. We've only been in Naples for about 2 days, but there's just so many things to see and do. While you could do something like shop, you'd be missing out on what truly makes Naples special. It's the amalgamation of art, of nature, of architecture, and most importantly, food. But before we look at the art, the architecture, the food, and the fun of Naples, let's take a look at the differences. There's quite a lot of scooters in Naples. They're everywhere. Side streets, main streets, crossing the street, parking in front of you. In general, it seems like there's this overall laid-back atmosphere here. Everyone doesn't seem to be in a rush, and they're just relaxing and enjoying life. So many coastal cities have amazing views of hills and mountains from the bay, but not many have a massive active volcano that tends to erupt extremely violently. But people are completely unfazed by this. But if you follow what the locals do and just relax, it really doesn't seem that stressful. Car theft must be really high to have almost every small car having one of these. More cars with crazy security to prevent the car from being stolen. Found a Frankenstein car. So the majority of cars here are basically small station wagons, and they fit into really tight spaces. Like really tight spaces. So, just like any major city, it's a bit dirty, but there's a bunch of dog crap and random trash on the floor. I read that it used to be a lot worse. While there's a lot of crap in Naples, that shouldn't deter you from seeing all the interesting art all over the city. There's quite a bit of art in Naples. Most of it seems to be really old, and it probably didn't help that we went to an archaeological museum. So while this museum has a lot of old stuff, there's a couple of things that make it really different from other archaeological museums. One thing is that it's extremely open about sexuality. And that's something you don't see every day. Also, in addition to old things, there's a lot of modern twists that are added in. You can see that this is really old stuff. So old they actually have cell phones. Luckily, if that's not your thing, there's also a large variety of modern art. And if you're a fan of morbid, creepy art, they've got you covered as well. But the art on the street is where it's really at. From the statues on the street to the people drawing on the floor, or the graffiti on the walls, there's actually a lot to look at. And what I think enhances this art is the amazing architecture that's all in the city. There's a lot of arches in Naples architecture. Just about every single street, every single building has some sort of archway in the window, in the wall, or in a plaza that connects to one of the buildings. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the tunnels in Naples. There's two main companies that do tunnel tours, and they're very different experiences. You start off in a retro-themed room, and then continue down multiple flights of stairs, which takes quite a while. You eventually end up in this really large cistern. Since there are so many objects and things to see, the tour guide really helps bring vivid color to each object and room. The ending, though, is rather abrupt as you're thrown into a really fancy looking parking lot. We're off to go see crypts now, right behind me. The Naples Underground starts off like a haunted house. They bring you down into a dark, ultraviolet lit room. They then lead you from this room to multiple flights of stairs which bring you to the cisterns. And it's really humid, cold, and a bit dusty down there, but there's lots of things to see. There's even gardens and what I can best describe as an underground art gallery scattered throughout the tunnels. But the main highlight of this tour is definitely lighting up a candle and exploring the working cisterns. That is just an amazing experience. So for a lot of the parts of the tour, it's pretty dark. Luckily, there's lots of exits as well, so if you ever freak out, you can always escape. But if you're afraid of the dark or of cramped spaces, this is probably one of the worst attractions you can ever go to. When you're done looking at all the rooms, they bring you to an adjacent building where there are more tunnels, and also a museum that has lots of nativity scenes. The food in Italy is just awesome. For example, this yogurt drink. And wasabi. Okay, so with the exceptions of a few restaurants with some really awesome dishes like eggplant parmesan, spaghetti vongole, and some awesome chicken ziti, and some desserts, looking back, desserts and sweets were consistently very tasty, like this cake. But the majority of everything else was pretty dismal. The fried pizza, and there's a lot of cheese, but not that much tomato sauce. We had popular meatballs, popular lasagna, and even a couple of places highly rated on TripAdvisor for pizza. Needless to say, we didn't want to consistently be disappointed, so we went to a supermarket. Cheese in Italy. So much cheese. So these are normal chocolate bars. These are bigger chocolate bars. This is the biggest chocolate bar I've ever seen in a store. To give you a scale, that's my hand. Sauces, oils and vinegars, more olive oil. It doesn't end. So we got some baba, which is a traditional rum-soaked sponge cake from Naples. It's the first time ever having it. I'm really excited about it, but we've seen tons of stores and tons of cafes with it, but haven't actually had it. Looks like we were told that you have to mix it around to make sure that each side soaks up the rum, so I'm just rotating it now. We did have some pretty good street food though. While it was hard to find, it was worth it. This is a €1 meatball, which is freaking awesome. So I have some gelato, after dinner gelato. It's pretty freaking good. Got some coffee and I think white vanilla. I always thought vanilla was white, so interesting. Gelato. Okay, I ate a lot of it, but it's still gelato. So because Naples has this overall laid-back attitude about everything, it's easy to find a lot of people who are just chilling around and enjoying life. At restaurants, in the bay, or even at museums. Ciao.